The hospital room was a sterile cage, its fluorescent lights buzzing like a swarm of angry wasps. Ethan, Caleb, and Noah, identical triplets born under a rare cosmic alignment, shared a single face, yet the world carved their fates apart with brutal precision. By age 25, their story had become a whispered legend in their small Ohio town. Two were heroes, one was a ghost. Ethan's fingers trembled as he traced the edges of a faded Polaroid, the last photo of the three of them together. They were 16, laughing under a 4th of July sky, their identical features, sharp cheekbones, hazel eyes, tousled blonde hair, framed by fireworks. The memory burned. Noah, always the boldest, had slipped into their mother's red-high heels that night, twirling with a grin that dared the world to judge. Ethan had laughed, Caleb had blushed, but their father's rage had been a guillotine, slicing Noah's spirit clean in two. That was the first crack in their shared world, the moment Ethan realized love could be a battlefield. Now, 9 years later, Ethan stood in the hospital, the Polaroid his only tether to Noah. Caleb sat beside him, his broad shoulders hunched, eyes fixed on the floor. The triplets had once been inseparable, their identical faces a shield against the world. They'd grown up in Willow Creek, a town where cornfields stretched endless and conformity was law. Ethan, the dreamer, wanted to write stories that changed hearts. Caleb, the protector, joined the fire department, earning medals for courage. But Noah, vibrant, unapologetic Noah, chose authenticity, wearing heels and makeup, defying the town's rigid rules. The price was exile. "He's not coming back," Caleb whispered, his voice raw. The words landed like a punch. Noah had been missing for 3 days, last seen in Cleveland, where he'd fled after a public shaming that left him broken. A grainy video had gone viral. Noah, in glittering stilettos, walking through Willow Creek's town square, heckled by a crowd until a brick shattered his resolve and his jaw. Ethan's stomach churned at the memory. They'd failed him. They'd let the world erase him. The triplet bond had always been their strength. As kids, they'd finish each other's sentences, swap places to fool teachers, and share secrets under the stars. Their mother, a soft-spoken librarian, called them her three-faced constellation. Their father, a pastor with a voice like thunder, saw their unity as a divine gift, until Noah's truth unraveled it. "God made you men," he'd bellowed, tearing Noah's heels from his feet. Ethan and Caleb had stayed silent, too afraid to challenge the man who ruled their world. That silence haunted Ethan now, a wound that festered with every unanswered call to Noah's phone. Ethan's phone buzzed, snapping him back to the hospital room. A text from an unknown number. "Meet me at the old mill. Noah needs you." His heart raced. Caleb grabbed the phone, his firefighter instincts kicking in. "It could be a trap," he said, but his eyes betrayed the same desperate hope Ethan felt. They'd searched every alley, every shelter, chasing rumors of Noah's whereabouts. This was their first real lead. The old mill loomed on the edge of Willow Creek, a crumbling relic of the town's industrial past. Its rusted beams groaned under the weight of secrets. Ethan and Caleb arrived as dusk painted the sky blood red. The air was thick with the scent of damp wood and regret. A figure stepped from the shadows, a woman, mid-30s, with tired eyes and a leather jacket. "You're the brothers," she said, voice low. "I'm Mara, Noah's friend. Where is he?" Ethan demanded, his voice cracking. Mara's gaze hardened. "He's alive, but he's not safe. Follow me." She led them through the mill's labyrinth of broken machinery to a small room lit by a single bulb. There, on a tattered mattress, lay Noah. His face, once a mirror of Ethan's and Caleb's, was bruised, one eye swollen shut. The red heels beside him were scuffed, a silent testament to his defiance. Ethan dropped to his knees, tears burning. "Noah, we're here." Noah's lips twitched, a ghost of his old smile. "Took you long enough," he rasped. Mara explained. She'd found Noah collapsed in an alley, beaten but unbowed. He'd been hiding, afraid to return to a town that despised him. Caleb's fists clenched. "Who did this? Does it matter?" Noah's voice was faint but sharp. "It's always someone. The town, the world, it's all the same." Ethan's heart sank. Noah's words echoed their father's sermons, the ones that branded him a sinner for being himself. Ethan had wanted to fight back then, to scream that love wasn't a crime, but fear had chained him. Now, seeing Noah broken, he felt that fear turn to rage. Mara crossed her arms. "He can't stay here. They'll find him again." Ethan knew she was right. Willow Creek wasn't safe for Noah. Not now, maybe not ever. But leaving meant abandoning the only home they'd known, the place where their mother's laughter still lingered in the air. Caleb, always the practical one, spoke up. "We'll take him to Cleveland. Start over. Together." Noah shook his head. "You don't get it. I don't want to run forever. His eyes, though bruised, burned with a fire Ethan hadn't seen since they were kids. I want to be seen. Really seen. Ethan's chest tightened. Noah's courage was a mirror, reflecting his own cowardice. He'd spent years writing stories in secret, too scared to share them with a town that worshipped sameness. Caleb, too, hid his own truth, the quiet love he felt for a man he'd never named aloud. The triplets shared one face, but their hearts had been torn apart by fear. Now, Noah's defiance was stitching them back together. "We'll fight," Ethan said, the words spilling out before he could stop them. "For you. For us." Caleb nodded, his jaw set. Mara handed them a burner phone. "Use this. Keep him hidden until you're ready." As they lifted Noah, his weight a fragile reminder of their bond, Ethan felt the first spark of something new. Purpose. They'd lost Noah once to silence. They wouldn't lose him again. The night swallowed them as they slipped out of the mill, the stars above a faint echo of their childhood constellation. Ethan clutched the Polaroid, its edges worn but unbroken. The triplets were together again, but the road ahead was a battlefield. Willow Creek would not forgive, and the world beyond might not either. Yet for the first time, Ethan believed they could face it, as long as they faced it together. The safe house in Cleveland was a cramped apartment above a laundromat, its walls papered with peeling floral patterns. The hum of dryers below vibrated through the floor, a constant reminder of the world outside. Ethan sat by the window, watching the city pulse with life. Strangers who didn't know their story, didn't care about Noah's heels or the scars he carried. Noah slept on a borrowed couch, his breathing uneven, while Caleb paced, his firefighter's calm fraying at the edges. They'd escaped Willow Creek under cover of night, Mara's burner phone their lifeline. She'd promised to check in, but her last text, "Lay low. They're looking," had come hours ago. Ethan's mind raced with questions. Who was they? The mob from the town square? Their father, whose sermons now thundered on local radio, calling for purity in God's name? Or someone worse, someone who'd seen the viral video and wanted to finish what the brick had started? Noah stirred, his bruised face catching the dim light. "You're staring," he muttered, eyes half open. Ethan flushed, caught. "Just making sure you're still here." Noah's laugh was weak, but sharp. "I'm not that easy to get rid of." The words were brave, but his hands trembled as he reached for the red heels, clutching them like a talisman. Ethan wanted to say something profound, something to erase the years of silence, but all he managed was, "I'm sorry." For what? Noah's voice was soft, probing. Ethan's throat tightened. For not fighting harder. For letting Dad's words drown you out. For choosing safety over you. But the words stayed locked inside, too heavy to speak. Caleb stopped pacing, his shadow falling over them. "We're fixing this, Noah. No more running." His voice was steady, but his eyes betrayed the guilt Ethan felt too. They'd both failed Noah, standing by as their father's wrath and the town's scorn drove him away. A knock at the door jolted them. Caleb's hand went to the knife he'd started carrying, a habit born of too many close calls. Ethan peered through the peephole. Mara, her leather jacket dusted with rain. She slipped inside, her face grim. They found the mill. Someone tipped them off. Ethan's stomach dropped. "Who?" Mara shook her head. "Doesn't matter. You need to move again. Tonight." Noah sat up, wincing. "I'm done hiding." His voice was steel, the same fire that had made him twirl in those heels at 16. "They want me gone? Let them see me first." Ethan's heart pounded. Noah's defiance was a beacon, but it was also a target. Caleb, ever the protector, stepped forward. "You're not facing them alone. We do this together." Mara pulled out a map, spreading on the coffee table. "There's a community center in Tremont. Safe space, good people. They're hosting an open mic tomorrow. Noah, you could speak, tell your story. It's a start." Ethan's mind flashed to his own stories, the ones he'd written in secret, tales of love, loss, and rebellion. He never shared them, afraid of the judgment Noah faced head on. Maybe this was his chance to be brave too. The open mic was a risk, but Noah's eyes lit up at the idea. "I'll do it," he said, "but I'm wearing the heels." Caleb's jaw tightened, but he nodded. Ethan felt a surge of pride, mixed with terror. Noah wasn't just fighting for himself. He was fighting for every kid in Willow Creek who'd ever felt erased. For Caleb, who hid his own love in shadows. For Ethan, whose story stayed locked in notebooks. They spent the night planning. Mara coached Noah on what to say, her voice steady but urgent. "Keep it real, but don't give them ammunition. They'll twist your words if they can." Ethan scribbled notes, his writer's instincts kicking in. He wanted Noah's story to sing, to cut through the noise of hate. Caleb mapped out escape routes, his firefighter's mind always one step ahead. By dawn, they were a unit again, their shared face a symbol of resilience. The Tremont Community Center was a brick building with rainbow flags fluttering outside. Inside, the air buzzed with voices, Laughter, arguments, hope. Noah stood backstage, his heels clicking softly on the wood floor. Ethan watched him, heart swelling. Noah's bruises were fading, but his spirit was incandescent. Caleb stood guard at the door, scanning the crowd for threats. Ethan clutched his notebook, where he'd poured his fears into a poem for Noah. If Noah could stand in his truth, maybe Ethan could too. When Noah took the stage, the room fell silent. He wore a simple black shirt, jeans, and those red heels, their shine a quiet rebellion. "My name is Noah," he began, voice steady. "I'm one of three. We shared one face, but only two were allowed to exist." Ethan's breath caught as Noah told their story. The triplets' bond, the town's cruelty, the brick that almost broke him. The crowd listened, some crying, others nodding. Ethan saw Caleb wipe his eyes, his stoic mask cracking. Noah's words were a spark, igniting something in Ethan. He stepped forward, unscripted, and took the mic. "I'm Ethan," he said, voice shaking. "Noah's brother, and I've been silent too long." He read his poem, each line a confession of love and regret. The crowd applauded, their warmth a shield against the world outside. Caleb joined them, his voice low but clear. "I'm Caleb, and I'm done hiding too." He didn't say more, but his hand found Ethan's, a silent vow. As they left the stage, Mara met them, her eyes shining. "You did it, all of you." But the victory was fragile. Outside, the world waited, and Willow Creek's shadow loomed large. Ethan knew this was only the beginning. They'd sparked a flame, but flames could be snuffed out. For now, though, they were together, their shared face a testament to love's defiance. The Cleveland skyline glittered beyond the community center, a stark contrast to Willow Creek's suffocating sameness. Ethan, Caleb, and Noah huddled in a diner across the street, the open mix afterglow fading under the weight of reality. Noah's speech had gone viral, shared across platforms by allies and enemies alike. The comments were a battlefield. Some called Noah a hero, others a freak. Ethan scrolled through them, each hateful word a knife. Caleb, ever vigilant, kept watch on the diner's entrance, his knife tucked inside his jacket. "We can't stay here," Caleb said, his voice low. "They'll find us." Noah sipped his coffee, the red heels tucked under his chair. "Let them come. I'm done running." His defiance was a spark, but Ethan saw the fear in his eyes, the same fear that had haunted them since childhood. Their father's voice echoed in Ethan's mind. God doesn't make mistakes. But what about a town that did? What about a family that turned its back on one of its own? Mara slid into the booth, her face tense. "How about a place in Pittsburgh? A friend's house, off the grid. You can lie low there." Ethan hesitated. Pittsburgh meant safety, but it also meant leaving behind the fight Noah had started. Caleb leaned forward. "We go, but we don't hide. We take the fight with us." Noah nodded, his jaw set. "I want to keep speaking. People need to hear this." Ethan admired Noah's courage, but feared its cost. The viral video of Noah's beating had drawn vultures, bloggers, trolls, even a local news outlet spinning the story to paint Noah as a provocateur. Their father had seized the moment, his latest sermon calling Noah's lifestyle a sin that invited violence. Ethan's stomach churned. Their father's words weren't just rhetoric. They were a call to arms for Willow Creek's worst. The diner's door jangled, and a man in a flannel shirt stepped inside. Ethan's pulse spiked. The man's eyes lingered on Noah, recognition flickering. Caleb's hand twitched toward his knife, but the man just nodded and sat at the counter. False alarm, but the tension lingered. "We leave at dawn," Mara said. "I'll drive." The road to Pittsburgh was a blur of highways and fading billboards. Noah sat in the back seat, sketching designs for a new pair of heels, bold, unapologetic. Ethan watched him, marveling at his resilience. Caleb drove, his silence a fortress. Ethan pulled out his notebook, scribbling ideas for a new story, one about triplets who refused to be broken. He read a line aloud. Their shared face was a map of love, scarred but unbroken. Noah smiled. "Write that for me, Ethan. Make it loud." Pittsburgh welcomed them with rain and anonymity. Mara's friend, a quiet artist named Lena, offered her loft as a haven. The space was cluttered with canvases, each one a riot of color and defiance. Noah fit right in, his heels clicking as he explored. Ethan felt a pang of hope. Maybe here, Noah could be free. But freedom came with a price. Lena warned them, "This city's better than most, but it's not perfect. Stay sharp." Days turned into weeks. Noah started speaking at local events, his story drawing crowds. Ethan joined him, reading his stories to audiences who clapped and cried. Caleb, less vocal, stood guard, his presence a quiet strength. They were rebuilding their bond, piece by piece, but the past clung like damp rot. Ethan's phone buzzed with messages from Willow Creek. Friends who turned foe, neighbors who'd once smiled but now spat venom online. Their father's sermons grew louder, naming Noah as a cautionary tale. One night, Lena hosted a small gathering at the loft. Activists, artists, and allies filled the space, their voices a chorus of hope. Noah stood on a makeshift stage, his heels gleaming. "I'm not here to be your martyr," he said. "I'm here to live." The room erupted in applause, but Ethan's eyes caught a shadow at the window. Someone was watching. Caleb was on it in seconds, slipping outside with Mara. They returned with a teenager, barely 16, his face pale. "I'm from Willow Creek," he stammered. "I saw Noah's video. I needed to see him." Ethan's heart softened. The kid, Jamie, was like Noah had been, scared but defiant, hiding his truth under baggy clothes. Noah knelt beside him. "You're not alone," he said, and Jamie's tears fell. But Jamie's arrival was a warning. If he could find them, others could too. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep, his mind racing with visions of bricks and crowds. Caleb sat up with him, his hand steady on Ethan's shoulder. "We protect him," Caleb said, "no matter what." Ethan nodded, but doubt gnawed at him. Could they outrun a town that wanted Noah erased? Could they outrun their own guilt? The next morning, Mara got a call. Her contact in Cleveland had spotted a group from Willow Creek sniffing around, asking questions. "They're coming," she said. Noah didn't flinch. Good. Let them see what they made. Ethan's chest tightened. Noah's courage was a flame, but flames could burn out. As they planned their next move, Ethan realized this wasn't just about Noah. It was about all of them, fighting for a world where love didn't have to hide. The Pittsburgh loft felt like a fortress under siege. Ethan stood at the window, watching rain streak the glass, his reflection a ghost of Noah's bruised face. Caleb cleaned his knife, a ritual to calm his nerves, while Noah sketched furiously, his heels tapping a restless rhythm. Mara and Lena huddled over a laptop, tracking online chatter. The hunters from Willow Creek were closing in, their hate amplified by a new viral post. A photo of Noah at the open mic, captioned, "The sinner returns to corrupt us all." Ethan's stories, once a private refuge, were now weapons. He'd started posting them online, anonymous tales of love and resistance that echoed Noah's fight. They were gaining traction, shared by strangers who saw themselves in the words. But each post was a beacon, drawing both allies and enemies. Caleb, ever practical, wanted to move again, but Noah refused. "I'm done being chased," he said. "This is my stand." Lena's loft became their war room. Mara mapped out safe routes, while Lena connected them with local activists. Jamie, the kid from Willow Creek, stayed close, his awe of Noah tempered by fear. Ethan saw himself in Jamie, the boy who'd once watched Noah twirl in heels, too scared to join him. Now, Ethan was writing for Jamie, for Noah, for every kid who felt erased. His latest story, 3 Faces, 1 Heart, went viral, its lines quoted in protests and pride marches. But it also painted a target on their backs. The threat arrived at dawn. A brick crashed through the loft's window, wrapped in a note, "Go back to hell." Ethan's heart stopped as glass littered the floor. Caleb was on his feet, knife in hand, while Noah stared at the brick, his face unreadable. "They're here," Mara said, checking her phone. Her contact had spotted a van from Willow Creek parked nearby, its occupants men from their father's church. Ethan's blood ran cold. Their father wasn't just preaching hate, he was leading it. "We fight back," Noah said, his voice steady. "Not with knives, with truth." He grabbed his heels, slipping them on with deliberate care. Ethan admired his brother's fire, but feared its cost. Caleb, torn between instinct and Noah's resolve, nodded. "We do this your way, but I'm not letting them touch you." Mara and Lena rallied the activists, planning a public stand, a rally outside the loft, where Noah would speak again. The rally was chaos and hope intertwined. Hundreds gathered, their signs a riot of color. "Love is not a sin. We are all Noah." Ethan read his stories, his voice shaking but strong. Caleb stood at Noah's side, a silent sentinel. Noah took the mic, his heels gleaming under the noon sun. "I'm one of 3, he said. "We shared one face, but they tried to erase me. They failed." The crowd roared, but Ethan saw the van at the edge of the street, its windows dark. The confrontation came fast. A group of men, led by their father, pushed through the crowd. Pastor Daniel's face was a mask of righteous fury, his voice booming over the chants. "Noah, you've shamed us all. Repent, or be cast out forever." Ethan's heart broke at the sight of their father, once their protector, now their judge. Caleb stepped forward, his body a shield. "You don't get to decide who he is." Noah faced their father, unflinching. "You taught me God is love. Where's your love now?" The crowd fell silent, the weight of Noah's words a thunderclap. Pastor Daniel faltered, his eyes flickering with something, regret, maybe, or shame. But the men behind him surged forward, their fists clenched. Mara and the activists formed a human wall, chanting, "No hate here." Ethan grabbed Noah's hand, Caleb the other. The triplets stood together, their shared face a defiance of hate. The police arrived, dispersing the crowd. Pastor Daniel and his men retreated, but not before their father's eyes met Ethan's, a silent plea or accusation. Ethan didn't know which. The rally ended in victory, but the cost was clear. Willow Creek would never be home again. Noah's speech trended online, his heels a symbol of resistance. Ethan's stories spread further, each word a brick in a new foundation. That night, in the loft, Noah broke down. "I thought he'd see me," he whispered, tears falling. Ethan held him, Caleb's arms around them both. "He did," Ethan said. "He just wasn't ready." They stayed like that, three brothers, one face, their bond stronger than ever. Jamie watched, his own courage growing. Lena and Mara planned the next move, a bigger rally, a louder voice. Ethan rode into the night, his story now a vow. "We shared one face, but our hearts beat as one, and we will not be erased." The world was listening, but the fight was far from over. Willow Creek's shadow stretched long, and love, though fierce, was fragile. The Pittsburgh dawn was gray, the city cloaked in mist. Ethan sat at Lena's cluttered table, his notebook open, the final lines of three faces, one heart staring back at him. Love is not a victory march. It's a battlefield where we choose to stand. Noah slept nearby, his red heels tucked beside him, a quiet rebellion even in rest. Caleb stood at the window, his silhouette rigid, watching for threats that never stopped coming. The rally had been a triumph, but Willow Creek's hunters were relentless, their hate a tide that refused to ebb. Mara burst in, her face pale. "They're planning something big, a reclamation event in Willow Creek. Your father's leading it." Ethan's heart sank. Pastor Daniel's sermons had grown apocalyptic, calling for a purge of sinners like Noah. The viral spread of Noah's speech and Ethan's stories had only fueled his rage. Caleb's voice was grim. "We go back. And this where it started." Noah woke, his eyes sharp. "I'm in, but we do it my way." The plan was reckless. Return to Willow Creek, crash their father's event, and confront him publicly. Ethan feared it was suicide, but Noah's fire was contagious. "They tried to erase me," Noah said. "Now they'll hear me." Caleb mapped out logistics, his firefighter's mind calculating risks. Mara and Lena rallied their network, promising a flood of supporters. Jamie, now a fixture in their circle, begged to come. "Your family," Noah told him, and Ethan saw the boys' fear melt into resolve. The drive back to Willow Creek was a descent into memory. Cornfields stretched under a bruised sky, each mile a reminder of their childhood. The laughter, the secrets, the silence that broke them. Ethan clutched his notebook, his stories their shield. Noah wore his heels, his face set like a warrior's. Caleb drove, his silence a vow to protect them. As they neared the town, signs appeared. Repent or perish. Ethan's stomach twisted. This was their father's work. The event was in the town square, the same place where Noah had been attacked. A stage stood under a cross, Pastor Daniel's voice booming through speakers. Hundreds gathered, their faces a mix of devotion and venom. Ethan, Caleb, Noah, Mara, Lena, and Jamie slipped into the crowd, their allies spreading out. Noah's heels clicked, a deliberate challenge. Heads turned, whispers spreading like wildfire. Ethan's heart pounded. This was it, their stand, their truth. Pastor Daniel spotted them, his sermon faltering. "My sons," he said, voice shaking with rage and something softer, grief maybe. "You've strayed." Noah stepped forward, fearless. "You strayed, Dad. You taught us love, then weaponized it." The crowd murmured, some angry, others uncertain. Ethan took the mic, his voice steady despite his fear. "We're the triplets who shared one face. You embraced two, but tried to erase Noah for being himself. Love doesn't work that way." Caleb stood beside them, his presence a wall. "We're done hiding," he said, his voice low but clear. The crowd split. Some jeered, others clapped. Mara's allies raised signs. Love wins. Jamie, trembling but brave, held one high. Pastor Daniel's face crumpled, torn between dogma and the sons he'd lost. "You don't understand," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. Then chaos. A man from the church lunged at Noah, fist raised. Caleb tackled him, his knife unused but a warning. Mara's allies surged, forming a protective ring. The police, outnumbered, hesitated. Ethan kept speaking, his stories pouring out. Tales of Noah's courage, Caleb's loyalty, their shared fight for a world where love wasn't a crime. The crowd listened, some softening, others hardening. Pastor Daniel sank to his knees silent. The event collapsed into shouts and shoves, but no bricks flew. Noah's heels stood firm, a beacon in the storm. As the crowd dispersed, their father approached, alone. "I wanted to save you," he whispered. Noah met his gaze. "You could have loved me." Ethan saw tears in their father's eyes, but no apology came. Some bridges stayed broken. They left Willow Creek for good, their allies at their side. Pittsburgh became home, the loft a hub for their fight. Noah spoke at rallies, his heels a symbol of defiance. Ethan's stories reached millions, each word a step toward change. Caleb came out, his love no longer a secret, his strength a foundation. Jamie found his voice, inspired by the triplets who shared one face. Years later, Ethan stood at a podium, accepting an award for his writing. Noah and Caleb sat in the front row, their faces mirrors of his own. The world hadn't changed completely, but it was listening. Love is a battlefield, Ethan thought, but were still standing. The triplets shared one face, but their hearts had rewritten their story. One of courage, love, and a refusal to be erased.